The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Bermuda's Feel Good Early Morning Show. Good day, Bermuda, supported by Pete's House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert, and we want to thank you for getting up early with us this morning. Jackie, how are you feeling on this Tuesday?
Amazing. No, I for somebody that woke up like every 2 hours, I was just like, is it time? Because I'm so excited about today's topic, because obviously the research was super easy and super fun. I wouldn't say research, but the topic was really easy to enjoy. So I was just like, are we able to talk about it? Because there's so much to unfilled, to
unpack, discuss all of the things.
Thank you. I'm like, oh, I didn't know this yeah. So I'm super excited.
That is awesome. So as you can see, we are ready to bring you some feel-good vibes this morning. So make sure, if you haven't already, share this episode with your circle. Take a moment and write a post. Share the link on Facebook. We're going to get into that shortly. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you drop the link in a WhatsApp group chat. And for all of our teams over there on Twitter, make sure you retweet it on the most stable social media app that is out there, Twitter. Thanks for that. Yep. Our feel-good topic of the day is What's Your Jam? The Evolution of Hip-Hop. We are going to be sharing some of our key takeaways and fun facts from the Netflix series entitled The Evolution of Hip-Hop. And our feel-good vibe of the day is Joke Time with Jackie. So if you want to laugh to get your morning started, make sure you stick around for that later on. We do have a couple of things that we want to discuss this morning. I kind of alluded to one of them. But before we do that, we want to say Happy World Teacher Day to all of the teachers. And we want you to drop in the comments a name of a teacher that you want to celebrate today. Jackie has a few that she wants to shout out. So Jackie, over to you. Shout out your favorite teachers that you want to celebrate.
Okay, so we have Nadia Khan, we have Amy Westanley, we have Monica Dunstan, we have Don Vickers. I know all the teachers in the island, right? Okay, Brittany Cox, Shalisa Smith, we have oh my gosh, we have
Dante Cooper, we have Dante Lavrock.
We have Steve Bean. We have who else we have? Gosh.
Well, I have a few.
From Work Academy.
There are so many. And
all of them.
I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Custodio, because he is part of the conversation when it comes to Flora Duffy Day, which, if you didn't know, she is going to get Corkscrew Hill renamed after her, as well as National Stadium is in the talks or in the conversation to be renamed after Flora. So shout outs to all of the gym teachers who are part of our student story that we often kind of don't talk about as much. Jackie and I have a few teachers, Mr. Manders, Miss Rollins. I want to give a shout out to my friend Gia. There are so many. We did say Dante Cooper already. Mr. Painter.
He's my favorite English teacher, but he was funny.
There are so many teachers. And actually, tomorrow's guest is a music educator, Tiffany Fox. So we do want to shout her out. If there are any teachers that you want to shout out, make sure you drop them in the comments, because we would like to celebrate them on World Teachers Day. Make sure you send a little love and appreciation to them. As we know, being a teacher can feel like a thankless job, and given the hybrid remote learning, in-person learning situation center that they are navigating, we do want to just let them know that they're on our minds and hearts today. So shout outs to all of the teachers out there. Now, The real for real topic that we want to get into this morning is the fact that the big three, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, were down for, I want to say, 4+ hours yesterday afternoon. And it was interesting, if you are not a Twitter person naturally, to kind of, I guess, come over to the Twitter space, Twitter sphere, and kind of see what happens over there. I want to know, we want to know, what did you do when the big three went down yesterday? What were some of the things that you did? How did you navigate the space? How did you find out that they were down? Let us know in the comments. But before we get into that, good morning to you, Larry, and shout out to his teachers, he says. So shout out to all of the teachers. Drop their names in the comments and we will definitely bring them into the conversation. But let's talk about the fact that the big three were down. Jack, how did you even find out that Instagram, Facebook, or WhatsApp were down?
You. I didn't notice, I was chilling. I was doing my homework and I was like, my homework, like my stuff. And I was minding my own business, listening to some music. And then Twitter started to go off and I wasn't really paying attention to it. So I was like, let me look. And it's Terri saying, hey, Jack, WhatsApp is done. Can you watch episodes 3 and 4? I'll watch episodes 1 and 2 for Hip Hop The Evolution. I was just like, why shouldn't just WhatsApp me? And I read it again because I just skimmed through. I'm like, oh, WhatsApp is down. I'm like, well, what else is done? Because if WhatsApp is done, that means Facebook's done. And, Facebook and Instagram, they're all linked together. So I was just like, oh, you know what's not done? Twitter and TikTok. The 2 T's. So I was quite fine. I went on TikTok, had a little fun, and I was going back and forth between TikTok and Twitter. And most of the time I use iMessage anyway. I just have a few WhatsApp groups. And I'm actually okay with the fact that one particular WhatsApp group was quiet, so I didn't have to try and worry about catching up with it. So thanks, you guys.
That was definitely a little shade towards myself and the rest of the crew over here at BCG. However, in our defense, it's usually a really good topic. And so if you're not awake or starting in the conversation at that point, you definitely do have to play catch up. But how many of us have WhatsApp group chats where you kind of don't really dive in that often, and then when you do dive in, you're just like, should I even?
It's okay because I don't have to type a lot, because I can just be like ditto and reply to that, or like I agree, yep, and this part. It makes catching up pretty easy with the amount of people that already agree, or the arguments that are being faced. Like, it just makes it easier for me to have to say last to catch up, versus sometimes I'm put in a group chat and I'm like, y'all are serious? Like, this makes sense to you? And then I have to go through why it's, my point, whereas you guys make it a little easier. But sometimes I want to join in on the fun, but like, I'm always 2 hours late and I can't be on my phone while I'm teaching tennis. It's a little unprofessional. I know John Hartman hates me where I'm professionalism, but he doesn't hate, but it's not in his favorite.
I mean, you are not being present if you're on your phone trying to teach. So we do get that part. We're doing a shout out, Kathy Rogers. Good morning to you. What did you do when the big three were down? I definitely did let Jackie know, because I was sitting here like, why don't I get one tick? Like, I understand the one tick, because if you're transitioning between data points, then you might not, have strong data. So that part, I was like, but I'm not even getting a one tick. And I'm sitting here like,
well, the first thing I thought it was my Wi-Fi. And I'm like, oh, this Wi-Fi is so irritating in this area. So I turned on my data and I was still doing the dring. And then some text messages, like iMessages, came through, and those people just like, yo, your WhatsApp's down too? And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's it. I guess that's what's happening.
That is the answer. So the funny thing is, Twitter is my go-to social media app when I want to just talk on social media. And so it's a part of my process. When I went to go hit up Jacky on WhatsApp, I was like, okay, it's not working. Clearly it's done. Let me screenshot what I sent her, because I'm not about to sit up here and retype this or copy and paste it onto Twitter. So I screenshot it, and then I go to her DMs, and then I tweet her, because I know for me, when I get DMs, sometimes the notification doesn't pop up, or it's a little lag, so you don't get it as fast as you would get a mention. So I'm like, hey, Jacky, can you check your DMs?
Like, it goes down in the DMs. So that's what it's always, right?
It really goes down in the DMs. And so because I because I'm a techie, one of the things I did I see it, like I tweeted about it. I was like, so what did y'all do when you were trying to use WhatsApp, Instagram, or Facebook and realize it's not really working? Like, what was your process? Some people were like, check the Wi-Fi, turn it off, turn it back on.
Yes, I didn't pay my bill. Let me check what day it is.
That is definitely a thought that comes to my mind. See, like, did I forget to put some money on my phone? No, that's fine. It's definitely okay. And then you go to Twitter, and then so one thing about going to Twitter too, comment to Twitter to see if anyone else has asked the question, but then I always go to Instagram or Facebook or one of their Twitter pages, and 9 times out of 10 they will have like the tweet up. But the funny was Twitter's social media manager saying, hey, literally everyone on WhatsApp and Instagram were replying, and everyone was like, you got work to do.
No, seriously, like I don't know how all that works, like the coding or whatever. So when they actually released that part of their stuff was deleted, like wiped, I was just like, ooh, whoever has to sit there, because I'm not sure if you have to sit there and type all the stuff back in, or if you just copy and paste. I don't know how it all works, but I felt sorry for whoever had to sit there and fix that while the world is just like,
fix it.
That's pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. So Kathy Rogers says she thought it was the Wi-Fi, then she thought OMG. Yep. So just before we go into the commercial break, I do want to bring in one more comment. It looks like we have Shoshana Williams. She says, instantly went to dawndetector.com, then went over to Twitter for my daily giggles. Listen, if there's one thing that Twitter will always fall back on, it's the banter. And I think every millennial that is OG with Twitter that started out with their Twitter accounts and kind of, that's why it was so funny to see WhatsApp and Instagram replying to Twitter and just like trying to have this conversation with social media managers, because it's like, bruh, I mean, they can't do anything as a social media managers, first of all. And then as a techie, understanding the back end development space and knowing how stressful it is, because a lot of backend developers don't have test environments, which is what I would have as an application analyst. Like, I can do some testing if I want to make a change to my application and see if it works and have my user test it out. But for backend development, when you're making some of these configurations, your test is production. So you put it live and you pray that it works. And the prayer didn't get answered yesterday. Something happened. And so, just speaking from my experience, you don't always have to like rewrite your code out, because 9 times out of 10 you have a backup. You can go to some tapes and kind of go to like a last successful backup and kind of pull the code from there. And if there was a change, you can kind of go back to that part of the change and kind of make, that's your root cause. But I use this GIF all the time when I'm talking about tech. It's the guy dog with the coffee with a bunch of fire around him. That's literally how those devs were probably in their cubicles or in their workspaces, literally like, this is fine.
I like the one on the bus. Where it's on the bus, is like, it's okay. It's okay. Or I do the cat. I think it's a cat, or maybe it's like something, the white thing. And it's just like,
oh yes, that cat.
But did you see the one person tweeted was just like, it's gonna come back on and say, please show your vaccination certificate to reactivate.
Your
I was just vaccine. Like, oh gosh, here we go.
I was like, that would be very interesting, because a lot of the misinformation kind of lives on the Facebook space. So like, I thought that was actually pretty hilarious, making a dig obviously at the people that use Facebook in like not so colorful ways or very colorful ways, depending on how you look at it. I thought I saw that was definitely hilarious to me. I want to bring in this comment from Kathy Rogers before we take a quick break. She says, how will the world survive? I told my daughters this is how it used to be, how did we communicate before social media. One thing I can say, my mom picked up her phone.
Page letter.
One thing, my mama definitely contacted her Facebook friends, so the people that she would WhatsApp. I gave them a call and told them the saga. It was hilarious because I could just hear her just calling around like.
I told my parents, and they're just like, oh. My dad watches CNN, ESPN, Fox News, and calls everybody. He don't care. He does not care. My mom's just like, oh, okay, you're done. My show's on. Playing. I'm just like,
They were very unbothered, clearly.
and there's more to the story, right? Like, at what point do I giggle because you're giggling? And
like you're laughing and I'm just unbothered.
It doesn't affect me at all. I call people. My dad doesn't text. He doesn't text. He can. He doesn't know how to. He doesn't do that.
Poor uncle. And that's fine. That's fine.
Like, Jack, send a text back for me. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, thanks, because you're faster. I'd still be.
He one finger text. Okay, that's okay. That's fine.
He's so cute. I love him. He's so cute.
We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back for our feel good topic of the day. So you do not want to go anywhere.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terry Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. And if you're just joining us, we just wrapped up talking about the big three going down yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to let us know, tell us what you did while it was down. How did you contact people? What were some of the methods you used to figure out that they were down? We are going to switch to our feel good topic of the day, which is what is your jam, the evolution of hip hop. And Jackie and I went back to, well, I don't know. So before I say went back, we are just going to share with you some of our key takeaways and fun facts from the Netflix series entitled The Evolution of Hip Hop. But before we start that, if you haven't already shared this episode, make sure you do so on Facebook. Go ahead and share a post, drop the YouTube link in your WhatsApp group chat, or simply retweet it on Twitter. Now, Jackie, was this the first time you had seen this show? Because obviously we want to ask the audience, do you think you're a true hip hop fan? If so, let us know why you think you are a true hip hop fan. Because I want to know, Jackie, before you seen this particular documentary series, did you think you were a true hip hop fan?
Yes and no.
Okay, why? Like, why yes and no? Because it is one of those, it depends.
Because, like, I don't know all the history behind it. I don't know how it started. I don't know. Like, I always loved a good MC, but I didn't know how it started. I always loved a good, like, DJ that would, like, you know, scratch and do different things and switch stuff up. Like, you watch them, you watch their hands, you watch how they do. I used to watch, like, you know, NWA, which stands for Niggas with Attitude, which is Eazy-E, Drake, like, you know, Ice Cube. There's a whole bunch of them. So I grew up, like, maybe with my era, but of course, there's other genres that I would more so lean towards. But if I'm speaking amongst certain people, yes. If I'm speaking amongst people that are more hip hop fans than me, then no. I am an amateur hip hop fan, I want to say. I love it. Like, I'm super into it. That's my jam. More so our generation, I was able to recite all the lyrics. Like, I probably can't do it now where I can't remember the lyrics, but I used to be able to. If you see how when you finish a sentence, I finish it with lyrics. Yes. That's how I used to be. Like, I couldn't help it. It was almost like I probably should get tested. I'm probably on the spectrum, because that's how I used to go. Like, I couldn't help but finish it with lyrics, even if it was just in my head. Like, when you say welcome back and or whatever it is, we're back. I'm like, back again. Baby's back. Like, so stuff like that. But not now that I've watched this series, I'm like, ooh, you need to go back and you need to study. Like, where are your books?
And see, that's my thing, because I am a no. And the reason why I say no is because for me to be a true hip hop fan would be to know the entire story of the genre, or at least be well educated enough to be able to bring up some fun facts or some things that people might not know, because obviously your era of hip hop is kind of the predominant one, because that's when you grew up, that's the music you listen to. But for me to be a true fan, I would have to, like, kind of know, okay, well, how did these artists get started? Like, who are their influences? What songs are they sampling? And how does the song that they sample impact the overall genre? So that's why I was like, for me, no, I'm not a true hip hop fan. And it was very interesting to kind of find out that the disco era, the 1970s, is what influenced this whole hip hop conversation, because in the 1970s, the adults at the time were obviously going to the discos, dance to disco music, and then their children were like, all right, that music's nice, but we want something that's our own. And then hip hop was born. And so I really found that interesting. And you brought up NWA, and which is like, you know, that's the whole East Coast. I mean, not East Coast, that's the West Coast side of the hip hop conversation. Then there's the East Coast side, and then there's the South side. And so from the episodes that you watched, what was like something that you took away that, I guess, from your perspective, knowing what you knew about hip hop beforehand, was like an aha moment?
So did you watch the part where they were doing like breakdancing?
Yes, I did get to that part.
Sorry, I can't remember. You said to watch episode 2 and 3, and I didn't listen. I'm like, I want to watch it all. I want to watch it from the beginning.
I'm glad you didn't listen.
So I started from the beginning, and there's so much I didn't know. Like, to put faces to the people that brought this about. Like, even I think it was episode 3 where it was just like, oh my God, how did he start it off? I can't remember how he started off.
He usually started off with a backstory, and if episode 3 was when you were talking about the trial.
Sorry, when he said started talking about the story, what amazed me with the MCing situation was these guys didn't have a script. Like, they just went up and they was just like, he's talking about for his friends are 16 years old, and it's just like, hey Raja, you gotta move your car, you're double parked, you're gonna get a ticket, and you'll go out and the girls will come in and they're all excited. And there's just like saying stuff to get you to move your feet, you know, get on your, you know, just so much. And then they were so casually talking about smoking weed with angel dust. And I'm just here like, you're just letting this loose in, and that was back in 1970s. We're in 2020, and you don't care. You've lived. Like, we think that we've lived, they have lived. And just to know that they've taken, like, they'll start off with a whole track, and they're pulling away different parts of the song just to get the
breakdown, which I thought was interesting.
And he's talking about the different breaks where it's just the drums, and how people would get onto the dance floor and the break dancing and the moving. And I wish I had a time machine. I would go back just to experience that. Like, I'll just be, even if I'm just in the crowd, just like, this is it.
Just like sitting in the background. Like, you don't need to see me. I don't need to see you. I just want to experience
it. And they're talking about how they only started in a little hotel with 40 people, and then it grew to thousands of people. It's just so much to unpack.
Well, we can start with that, because even when they brought, in episode 1, because that's all I watch, y'all, because Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp went on, and that took my attention.
I was tired. I got distracted this time, guys.
I definitely switched gears. However, just watching the first episode and just seeing how DJ Herc, he's given the title, known for the person who had the very first hip hop style party. And his style of party was to find the break in the song and kind of loop it. So one of the persons that was like interviewed was talking about how DJ Hart was like one of the only people he knew who would have 2 copies of the same record, so that he could play that break part over and over and over, so that it was like this infinite loop. And people were obviously amazed, because DJs would only have 1 copy of the song and would have to, like, you know, figure out how to get back to that one part. And they were saying like how getting back to that one part was picking up the needle, moving back to that part in the song, and then restarting it. So there was like this moment of silence. And I thought that was really interesting, because when we listen to DJs today, like, that's a part of how we experience parties today, because obviously it evolved over time, and that's like how the DJs kind of have moved through their fraternity and their sorority around it. And I just thought that, to me, was like probably the biggest wow, because sir, you just creatively in your mind thought that you wanted to have this particular moment, and then people would come out to the dance floor, and that's how they became B-boys, breakdancing. And it was actually also interesting to learn this title, A1 B-boy, because I just didn't. I knew about B-boys, but I didn't understand this concept of like, there's a top B-boy and he's A1. So if you can beat the ace, then you can beat everybody in the crew. And I was like, oh, look at that.
It was a lot. Like, I think that everybody should go and at least watch one episode and come back and tell us how they like it, because But you're gonna get stuck in it because you're just like, wait, hold on, it's over. Wait, wait, another episode. All right, cool. And you sit in and like, oh, it's somebody else's story because then we switched over to like Russell Simmons. He came on and he was talking about his stuff and going out and finding people.
And which is interesting too, because like I actually want to ask this question to get the audience involved. What is your first memory of hip hop? Some people, I believe, were close to the birth of hip hop, like in their age, like they may have heard some of the early songs, who have been to some of the early parties. And Jacky and I are definitely coming a little later in the game. It probably had grown up as a genre by the time Jacky and I got into the conversation. And so our first memories are definitely going to be different from the audience, but we do want to know, what was your first memory of hip hop? Because I want to come back to something that Jacky mentioned around Russell Simmons and just talking about how he was able, like Russell Simmons is a businessman. He has always been a businessman, and he is definitely someone who finds ways, makes the connections, and puts the right people in the right places. And although I hadn't watched the full first season over, I did see that particular episode previously, and just hearing him say or repeat some of the things we knew about his career, it was really interesting to think how you were like a nobody. Like back then, you were just like getting everything started, and people like really trusted you because you had this vision for this genre, and now look at you.
I know it's a little off topic, but it's still about him. I didn't know he cursed so much.
Russell has a dirty
I was shocked every time, and then he was talking about, he's just like, the fact that I'm able to sit here and think about all the stuff that happened with the amount of stuff I was smoking and on back then, and this and that. I'm just like, I thought you were so quiet and innocent, but at the same time to the point, because I feel like he doesn't talk that much when I see him publicly, and
he's a straight shooter, and he does.
Right, so his very like, why am I going to tell you all of that when I can just say, go in there and say what I said? But like, he came across like one of those quiet gangsters that will like give you a mouthful, so just do it.
Because if you don't do it and it comes out not the way he said, you're gonna hear about it.
I would, but he was like very casual, sitting up on the couch, legs like feet crossed.
He is one of my favorite people to watch. Like the way, like, because he curses so much, it's so hilarious to me, because like he does have a persona that is now more zen and more at peace.
Right.
But when he gets into conversations, like, it's a completely different
casual, like he's saying dub, and I'm just like, but the word's not the word. We're just gonna breeze past the fact that little Russell, Uncle Russ.
Uncle Russ has earned his stripes, so he could say it however he wants to say it. I want to get to some comments. Looks like Renita Grum said Curtis Blow is one of her first memories of hip hop. And then we have this comment from Shanta. She says, good morning, ladies. I grew up in that era, the music, the characters, the battles, OMG. For those of us that didn't grow up in New York City, we also relied on Jet, Word Up, and Right On publications. And then she says that Rapper's Delight was one of her first memories. You guys should watch Crush Groove, the movie. Noted. We will actually do that. I want to actually come back to those publications because, first of all,
Word Up magazine. I'm sorry, see?
Jacky will always find a way to make the connection to us, and I love it because it gives me a moment to kind of go down memory lane with her. So speaking of Word Up, though, I lived for a Word Up poster. Like, I lived for a pullout. I didn't actually put anything up on my wall. I just had them out and like created like binders, I guess, of these things. But like, of those three magazines, Jacky, were you like a fan of one or the other?
So I remember I grew up getting my stuff from Music World.
Oh yes, that's where you worked, right?
Right. So not just working there, the family friends. So before I was actually of age to work there, I would still go and pick up my different CDs, my different music, like videos, magazines, whatever. And sometimes I wouldn't even know what I'm looking at, and I'll just pick up a magazine while I'm waiting for my order. And I'm like, ooh, like I'm like, oh, this is like, you know, Biggie or Pac or Lil Kim or whatever, and the poster will look sick. And sometimes it was not the most appropriate thing, but I'm like, can I have this? And they're like, yeah, well, sure, go ahead. And I'll just go back. And I know they used to do things like, if I didn't need the cover, they'd rip the cover off and send it back, because that was like part of their don't know, process. But I used to be like, hey, I don't need the front, but can I just take the rest? And like, yeah. And I'll go back and get the old one sometimes to get some of my other artists. Like if it was like TLC or Missy Elliott or Eve, stuff like that. I'm like, can I? And so I'd be excited to stick them up on my humidity not ridden. I go to school and all my posters will be up, and I'll come back and I'm like, walls decide to sweat today, huh?
And that is probably the reason why I never put mine up anymore, because maybe I did try it once and it just didn't last. So I was just like, listen, we're not doing this. I'm just not going to do it. But that is definitely one bane in the existence of living on a Caribbean island, is the humidity. And it's like, you might as well just get a case that you put these things in, because your wall is just it's cute to see all of the, you know, American movies where the girls can put their stuff on their walls and like have their little shrine to their favorite celebrity. Meanwhile, in Bermuda, the one thing that does stick up is like a newspaper article. You're like, come on.
I used to get excited because I would be like, yeah, I can stick it on my ceiling, and when I wake up, I'm looking at Puck, and then something slaps you in your face, and you're like, ah!
Like, smacking everything away.
It's okay. You just want to cuddle? Okay.
Speaking of though, some of those artists that you named, we did ask our Instagram audience this question, and we want to know from you today, who is your favorite hip hop artist? And one of the comments was Missy Elliott, and I do want to give a shout out. I don't know the name of the dance group, but they did a tribute to Missy Elliott, which we will repost to our Instagram story again, because we did post it previously when it was first released, but we will do it again for those of you that missed it. And we will also put it on Twitter, because Twitter is the most stable social media app out there. Just saying. But Jack,
I was gonna ask you first.
Who's mine? So sticking to the era that we kind of watched, I would definitely have to say Run DMC is my favorite hip hop artist / group, because I like their style. I think their fashion sense, which was something that Russell talked about when he was like doing his little interviews. He was talking about how their style was kind of cultivated as a rapper, because I think before then a lot of the groups were doing like this whole suit situation, whereas, you know, Run DMC have the Adidas tracksuit with the shoes with no laces and the Kango hat, and that was like and the big old chain, and that was like their thing. And I thought that was interesting, because that is now synonymous with, or visually, that's what you think of when you think of hip hop. Like, you think of the Run DMC style, and also because Beat Boys would do were that when they dance. So I think for me, it's definitely, for that era, it's a Run DMC for sure.
It's definitely Brown Sugar vibes.
Very much so. And I stand.
Ice Cube keeps coming to mind, because I always think today was a good day, and I think that I get with his vibe, because it's like super cool. But the moment you task him, yo, didn't I tell you to sit down and keep quiet? And I feel like that's me.
I feel like that is you as well. I feel like
I just got where he's coming from. Like, I can listen to his music, and most of the time, even when he was going against people, most of the time, like, wait, you're coming for me?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even do nothing. Oh, you're gonna make the beast? All right, cool. Let's go. This is gonna be fun. Let's go. And I'm just like, yeah, that's me.
I could definitely see.
Until you like keep knocking at my door, I'm gonna answer. So I'm very much a Cube fan.
I could see him being your spirit animal, or your your internal being is definitely like, okay, don't test me.
Yeah.
Don't test me. Okay, you tested me.
Yeah.
Now I'm here.
Yeah.
It looks like Rashida Garvin said the Fugees are her favorite rap or hip hop, group. And speaking of the Fugees, they're doing a concert, right? Like, they're doing like a reunion or something.
It was the Fugees? I thought it was somebody else in Lauren Hill. Maybe it is the Fugees.
Oh, I don't know.
But I will be excited, but I'm not going to show up on time, because we all know Lauren doesn't show up.
Oh yeah, that was the thing. She doesn't. But is it the Fugees? Wyclef Jean.
Yes.
Lauren Hill. Right.
Yeah, Wyclef shows up on time, because he showed up Dockyard on time.
He showed up Dockyard. So yes, they are doing. They have planned to do a reunion tour of sorts, and we'll see if that actually happens. Because I will say this though, we'll probably get into this when we do get to that part of the series, because we're obviously going to make this a thing now, guys. If you haven't seen this series yet, make sure you watch it, because we will come back and talk about season 2, maybe, or an episode from season 2, because who knows what will happen between now and then. But speaking of one of my favorite Atlanta groups, Outkast, hands down. And I went to their At Last concert like the last day. So like they did the concert. They announced it was only supposed to be one day, and then it ended up being like a festival. And then the last day of the like second dates, my friend got me a ticket for it. It was a birthday present. Oh, they would have it in September. Who cares? It was great. Listen, I am so glad I experienced that, because it's one thing to be in Atlanta listening to Atlanta rappers. It's a whole nother vibe to actually see them on stage in Centennial Park. I would best experience ever. Best birthday present ever.
I need them to come back with some music.
There's definitely a little bit of interest in like their creative minds and the way they operate now as a group. But it would be nice for them to kind of come back. I feel like their style of hip hop is very eclectic, and I love it.
All right. Okay, no, they.
Yeah.
What's cooler than being cool? High school. Oh my God, I love music.
Live for them. Oh, it looks like Rashida Garvin said that they came in the 90s. The Fugees, I think.
Ooh, like all of them? Like Lauren was her?
Girl, don't do Lauren like so. I mean, maybe. Okay, it is what it is. I don't know.
No. I'm being serious. Like I
have heard that she is not the best when it comes to showing up, being on time. I have heard that for sure. I just think it's so interesting, to say the least.
I don't mind if you show up late. Just like have people play music before you, until you get there. Like, because then it's a filler, right? So what happens is you need to have enough artists in front of you so that they have, enough artists, or at least artists that have enough music to entertain your audience until you get there. So if you are late, they're at least having a great time.
Yeah.
They don't even notice the fact that you're running late. Not standing there wondering where Lauren is and the exhausted, the feet are getting tight. Like some people come and show out.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
But I think for me, thinking of the Fugees, I wouldn't necessarily show out with my shoes, only because knowing that these concerts take they are a long period of time. So it's not like you're going to have the access to be able to sit down. And even if you do have the access to sit down, you might not necessarily want to sit down because you might be having a good time. So I definitely err on the side of comfort when it comes to getting to these places, only because you never know what's going to happen. It might not even be the artist's fault as to why they're late. So
I'm a sneaker fan anyway, so I'm gonna always choose comfort.
Hey, now before we go to our commercial break, I do want to get this comment from Carlton Fleming. He's saying Wu-Tang Clan was his favorite. I actually love that group as well. Definitely haven't listened to their music in a while, so noted to self to do so. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with Joke Time with Jackie. So if you want a laugh to get your morning started, make sure you stick around.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Allianz Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. If you're just joining us, make sure you give us a reaction if you're watching over there on Facebook. To all of our people on YouTube, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe before the end of today's episode. To our peeps on Twitter, make sure you run up those hearts. Before we get into Joke Time, Jack, what were your thoughts on today's episode? What was something that you love talking about? Besides everything.
You always put me on the spot, and I'm like,
I love it.
And every day I know you're gonna ask this question. I'm just like, I still don't have an answer. But I love talking about music, and I love learning what you are interested in, what your experience has been, and what the audience has experienced, because everybody's experiences are different. Everybody has lived different places, or they grew up during different times. So to learn in this way is fun to me. I like the different ways of learning about people.
And for me, if you don't know, I'm a techie, so I love all things technology and marketing. So when the Twitter conversation, the Facebook, the Instagram, the WhatsApp was going on, like that was definitely my jam because it only reminds me that I'm doing some great things in my day job and making sure that that doesn't happen to me, because it could be any one of our techies that have written all the documentation, done all the testing, and still something could not work out. On that note, let's switch over to joke time with Jackie. I am ready for a laugh. Audience, if this is the first time you are joining us for joke time, drop a comment with the emoji of choice if you think Jackie's jokes are funny. If you don't, it's fine. I will probably think they're funny. Over to you, Jackie.
Okay. What concert only costs 45 cents?
50 cents.
With a nickel back. You got it! Okay,
that was actually hilarious.
Why did the math book feel so sad?
The math book felt so sad because no one could figure out the problems. It had a problem. It had problems.
Yes, because of all its problems. How does a penguin build its house?
One ice at a time.
It glues it together. There's somebody in the comments was like,
corny joke ever. Like, I think because I enjoy dry humor, these are like even funnier. So audience, let us know, drop your emojis, do a reaction if you're watching on Facebook, because we do hope that today's Feel Good Vibe of the day has you ready to make it a great one. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert, and we trust we will see you tomorrow for more Feel Good conversations. Until the next episode, peace and have a good day, Bermuda.